Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, recreation, or retransmission of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of the New York Racing Association Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, please stand for our national anthem.
And they're off.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to opening day at beautiful Belmont Park. We have sunny skies, the temperature in the 50s. It's a blustery day here at Belmont. The main track is fast. The turf courses are firm. The portable rail up on the Widener turf at 9 feet and on the inner turf at 27 feet. And right now we'll take a look at today's changes. In the first race, scratch number 8, Pave My Way. Scratch the 8, Pave My Way. Note that number 6 is 1 pound over. Second race and third race, no changes. Race 4, we'll start the pick 6. And we have these scratches in the fourth. Scratch 4, Motion to Strike. 7, Jake Rocks. Scratch the 8, Cajun Commander. 11, Top of the Mint. And 13, Quick Flash. In race 4, scratch 4, 7, 8, 11, and 13. In race 5, scratch 1, Macart. 5, Feathers Road. The 9 is 1 pound over. A jockey change on the 10, Scherzando to Trevor McCarthy. Trevor McCarthy will ride number 10, Scherzando. Also scratch 13, Majority Partner, and 14, New York Anthem. In race 5, scratch 1, 5, 13, and 14. There are no changes in race 6 and no changes in the 7th. In today's 8th race, scratch number 8, Uno. Scratch the 8, Uno, out of the 8th. And in today's 9th and final race, number 1 is 1 pound over. The 15 is 1 pound over. And scratch 9, Impossible Dream. 13, Let Me Get It. 14, Giggling Ghost. And 16, Doc Doc Rock. In the 9th, scratch 9, 13, 14, and 16. Main track is fast. The turf courses are firm. We'll come back at 12:50 to recap the changes. First race post today is at 1:20. Up next, the opening day edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 debut of Belmont Talking Horses. He's Anthony Stabile. I'm Andy Serling. We're back at Belmont. A beautiful day here at Belmont. A little chilly, a little windy here, but it's Belmont Park, and we're back, and it's nice to be back.
When you sit outside, the sun hits you in the face, and you know you're back at Belmont.
If you're sitting
in
the back, it's nice.
You sit in the back. Yeah, you got to sit in the back. And then you walk to the front to watch the race, and then you go back and sit in the back.
Okay, there you have it.
That's the playbook, folks.
That's all you need.
The
Anyway,
Belmont Park playbook.
Nice to be back here at Belmont. 9-race card today. Racing, of course, all through the weekend. Weather looks great for the weekend. Looking forward to some good racing back here at Belmont Park. Lots of different distances on the turf courses. Lots to look forward to. You need to head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code DERBY25. We will not only match the $200 of your initial deposit, we'll also give you a free $25 bet towards the Derby. Go to Naira Bets. Keep the money in the game. Play through Naira Bets. We have 20% exacta bonus. It's through the weekend. Oh, it's through Sunday. The reason it isn't. Right, because we only had April when I opted in through Saturday.
Yep.
I won't be here Sunday, but I will be betting.
Okay.
Anyway,
remind you to opt in Sunday.
Yeah, no, I'll get it, but thank you. I'll get it. Anyway, that's this first weekend, 20% exacta bonus all day long at Belmont. Opt in over at Naira Bets. We also have the contest coming up. $300 buy-in, cash and seat prizes. Naira.com/contest. For more information, you have until 5 o'clock tomorrow, Friday, to sign up for the contest, live money contest. We also have Belmont Stakes tickets still on sale. Belmont Stakes is now 6 weeks and 2 days, otherwise known as 44 days until the Belmont Test of the Champion. Get your tickets now before they sell out. And finally, America's Day at the Races continuing today from 1 to 5:30, covering all the opening day action here at Belmont Park. And we start out on the Widener Turf Course, going 1 mile and a 16th. A combination of some new faces here and some old ones. All right, Anthony, why do you like Our Jessica?
I'm going to take the recency of Our Jessica, of the horses that I believe have the best chances in here. Save the firsters. The other two, Saratoga Chrome and Out of Sight, the 6 and 4 respectively, are coming off last fall layoff. So I'll take the recency. Dave Donk won a couple of races closing day over at the Big A, a couple of turf runners, and I don't know, I thought this horse ran well enough last time. Addition of blinkers, first time on the grass, has the recency. Going to be a square enough price as well. I went to Al Jessica.
Okay. I didn't see this horse. I thought this horse ran against a much inferior field to what she's running against. You've got Out of Sight coming back for Dave Donk, who ran credibly in some races last year. And then you have Saratoga Chrome, who I thought a little unfairly DQ'd out of a win. We'll take a look at the last race Saratoga Chrome ran. Went to the front in this race. Gets Lasix for the 3-year-old debut. Kendrick Carmouche actually riding this horse as opposed to Eric Cancel, who's been riding her in the past.
Trainer change as well, so that could have something to do with it.
Oh, it goes to Michelle Nevin. That could be the case for it. It'll be interesting to see where this horse is placed. I mean, the horse who figured to be the speed was the number 8 in here. Now I think Out of Sight and Saratoga Chrome will both be forward in here. I have no problem with this horse. I think the routine improvement from 2 to 3 makes this horse the one to beat. The question for me was whether or not any of the strangers were interested in this race. And the first one to look at is, I'm guessing it's Reume? I really don't know.
Yeah, I would go Reume.
We'll take a look at a trainer stat for Michael Dickinson for what it's worth. First-time stars in turf routes. Michael's got 4 wins and 18 starts. Pretty good. $3.48 ROI. It's half to 4 unraced horses. There's a little bit of turf in the second generation, and we have seen the Nyquist do okay in the turf. Thought this horse could be a dangerous first-time star tripping up for Mike Dickinson.
Yeah, I have the horse 4th. I saw the fact that all the foals were unraced. This filly's not debuting until her 4-year-old year, so I don't know what the deal is. I put her 4th, but obviously this horse can win because it's not like any of the horses that have run on the grass have run anything that's going to overwhelm the field if one of the firsters can run.
Yeah, the horse that I thought was interesting in here was the 5 Eau Claire, and I'm hoping to get a little bit of a price on this one. And she comes out of a race in her debut that featured an incredibly soft pace, where basically Kara's Dreamer was allowed to dominate the front end. Now, Kara's Dreamer has turned out to be a relatively decent horse, but she was way back in that race. And if you watch the race, lost a little bit of ground on both turns and kind of ducked in a little bit to start, and it was a half slow. I rode her pretty hard in this race, but she was really moving in the stretch and picking up horses in a race where there was basically no pace whatsoever. Had a pretty strong gallop out. Now, I understand that race was a long, long time ago.
Yeah,
It's been
18
almost
months
a year
ago.
and a half since we've seen this horse. But you know what? Well, this horse could be interesting off a layoff. Switching to Arnaud Delacour. Tom Bush, of course, the ex-trainer, is retired. And thought this horse actually had some ability and might be kind of an interesting horse off one seemingly poor effort that I don't think was as bad as it may look. Race number 2. Race number 2 at 6.5 furlongs. The horse who has the best last race is the number 3, Gentle Annie. Now, you've left her out, and I have her 4th. Neither one of us are particularly thrilled by her, and this was a race, and we'll take a look at her last race, where the favorite in here, Grudge, just completely fell apart. I think that's the Mike Dubb horse in the pink cap.
Yes.
I don't trust her, but I can't argue that she has run reasonably well in a couple of her races, and I don't know. It's not like, she didn't run well in a dry track 3 races back, so I don't think she's impossible in here. I just preferred a few others.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. She kind of was the first one to inherit Grudge, who just didn't fire that day, and she was a lot closer than she had really ever been in her life. And maybe that's the key. Maybe Jorge Vargas keeps her closer again. I mean, look, I don't know about you. I was not thrilled with really anybody in here. I thought this was a tough race.
Well, I think it's a pretty cut and dry race. I think the 4, Bella Principessa, the horse to beat, and the 2 horses with a chance to beat her, realistically, are probably the 2 T and Chloe Rose.
You don't worry about distance as much as I do. I don't know. I think a little bit more ground, 7 a mile, is probably better for Bella Principessa, especially if I have to take her at a short price.
Well, what about her race in December? 6 furlongs.
Yeah, that was in the slop where
So
she beat Queen Tequa Mission Trail.
She ran a 73 Beyer.
Yeah,
she ran the same Beyer figure she ran.
We
her
don't
next-
think that maybe she's a little bit better on a wet track too.
No.
So there were a lot of things for me to try to fade her. I put her 2nd. I probably should have put her 3rd because I think there's a chance to fade her in here between the distance and I think she's a touch better on the wet tracks. So.
None of those make sense
What
for
I
a PP.
what
for
I
its
did
worth.
in here was I went to the horse that Save Bella Principessa is the in-form kind of horse. And Red Pepper Grill, I know, is a little cheap, having won the 2 life and the 3 life. Ordinarily, I do not like to bet on these horses, but she is Rudy, and Rudy's heated up, and the blinkers have really seemed to help turn her around a little bit and at least point her in the right direction. And you'll talk about 2 at T, but she's kind of been a little stagnant. Chloe Rose has kind of fallen off form. Gentle Annie had the good trip last time. Bella Principessa, I think, needs a little bit more ground and might like a wet track better. So I'm going to make an exception. I ordinarily do not pick these horses. But I'm going to
horses
take
have
her.
no chance? I mean, how could she possibly win this race? Honestly.
I don't know how you feel that way.
She's running against horses that are
She's running similar figs to most of this field.
Well,
the fig last time puts her right on the wire here. Unless Bella Principessa just comes and overwhelms
In this
them.
case, you're going to use her sort of borderline mediocre figs
No,
against
I
bad
told you why
horses
I told
to
you why
defend her.
I picked her.
Okay.
The blinkers, and she's in form for a hot
We
barn.
disagree. I do think that she has a chance to beat Stencil and Hey Mama. I'm not sure, but I think she has a reasonable chance to beat them. I didn't see that at all. So we're just on different stratospheres here. To me, you've got 2 at T and Chloe Rose are running against horses like Norman Queen and Tell a Perfect Tale, and these horses are just in a different league than the rest of them. And if you're trying to beat the 4, and I don't agree about the wet track, and I think her figures in her races show that she's just as good on dry tracks as wet tracks. She's been on wet seal tracks, she's been on wet harrow tracks, she's been on dry harrow tracks. I don't think the distance matters. As good a race as she's run in any of her races in the last 4, essentially was at 6 furlongs, at 6.5 today. So I don't understand the distance argument. That's fine. I think 2 at T is probably the more likely of the 2 horses, just running against better horses in her races. Chloe Rose, I will say her form came apart a little bit in the last race. She had run races. Maybe she was going a little far, going a mile, even 7, sloppy sealed track. She's got a little break. She's been off for almost 2 months. I think she's dangerous. I'm going to use 1, 2, and 4 and try to beat Bella Principessa. I'm not thrilled by her, but she's the horse to beat. We saw this race very differently.
We did.
Race number 3. there should be pace in race number 3. It's hard to see how Invest, who's run so well while being forward, albeit beating up on Hort lesser than these, but it has improved. Daddy Knows, who has to be forward. There's a Storm of Bruin. It's hard to imagine that the pace isn't at least honest in this race. And No Salt is just a super logical horse. You can see his last race. And, the difference between this race and last race was he actually had to put him in the game last time, because the one thing that could have gotten him beat last time was the fact that there wasn't much pace, and he is not really a speed. He's not supposed to have that problem in this race, Anthony.
He's not. There's supposed to be a lot of pace in here, and it's part of the reason I don't want to say I default. I wish Vintage Hollywood had a little bit better recent form, and I probably would have done the same thing as you did and put him on top. But, I mean, this horse runs his last race. This horse runs the race 3 back. He's gonna overwhelm these horses. I mean, you can make a case that
if he runs his race 2 back.
If he runs his race 2 back, Daddy Knows would kind of have to show up with a big effort, and you painted a pretty negative picture for him, right? He looks like he's surrounded by Invest, and there's a Storm Bruin.
It's hard. I mean, I think Daddy Knows is very good.
I do
I'm
too,
not
but
sure
it's just hard to find him a trip in here.
Yeah, I mean, if he can rate a little bit, but he's never been a horse that's that comfortable rating. And
when they try to rate him, he kind of runs off and gets out a little bit. So,
yeah. Well, he gets out even when they're not rating him.
Yeah.
I don't have an argument with No Salt. He's way the horse to beat. He'll be a super short price, and he should be a super short price. On the other hand, Gustavo Rodriguez has, I didn't put it up, tremendous numbers off the claim with dirt routers, and they're all within the last year. He's 4 for 6 with 5 hitting the board and a 553 ROI, and actually one of the 2 that lost is the number 7, Just Right. And if you look back to see when he ran off the claim for Gustavo, he actually ran pretty well in that race that he was claimed. So the reality is that was the last race. He really improved. It's really the best race he's run recently.
That's a fast race.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's done well with him off the claim, and I'm going to take a little bit of exception. I don't actually think his form is that bad. He really had no chance in that race. It's relevant, running him off their feet. 2 races back against Tear Gun. Those horses are much, much better. His race 3 back is okay. I mean, yeah.
What about the 2 before? The 2 before that,
but
they're ugly race, but it's first time Gustavo.
He does. Well, no, but he also listen, I bet him 3 back. So I think he can make some excuses for some of his races. He has enough 2 relatively recent races that are fast enough. If he can improve a little off them, and No Salt doesn't run his best race, he can beat him. I have no illusions. No Salt is 7-5 in the line. I think he's going to be closer to 4-5. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure he shouldn't be 4-5 in this race, but I'm going to take a small shot to beat him with Vintage Hollywood. He's the only one I could make a case for.
Me too.
The first pick 6 of the Belmont meet starts with a kind of a tricky race, to say the least, in race number 4. And, the best horse in this race on the turf is the number 6, Kid Bourbon. We'll take a look at his race when he was second at a super short price to Fame to Famous, who was about 35-1 that day, and Heeman stole it in the front end. The problem I have with him, and I think you probably have a similar problem with, is I just don't know if you can trust this horse going 6 furlongs.
No. I don't know how you can. You look at his card. He's got races dating back to February of 2020. They're all at a mile or over.
He's never run the short in the turf. He's never run, and he kind of sprints at all.
And he's the kind of horse, Andy, where he really doesn't have any.
Oh, he has no speed. And they're the worst kind of turnbacks in turf races. Now, I suppose
if this was 7, it would be such a different story.
I agree.
A completely different story. If it's 7, he's the pick. But at 6 furlongs, he's very, very hard to trust in here.
The problem is sort of where you really go in this race. I mean, I think there's a case to be made that Mach 2 could wire the field, an aggressive ride by
Mach
Gomez.
1, who's the number 2.
And the thing about Mach 1 is he does have turf races. You look at that soft power race. Those are a lot better horse than these. It was a fair enough pace that day, but in fairness, while Soft Power made a big run from the back of the pack, both Ranger Fox and Charleston Strong ran 2-3 were on the pace, but they're also much better horses than these. So I don't think this horse without ability. Now that was for Danny Gargan. This is the Wayne Potts barn, and make no mistake, the Bonnie Lucas barn is the Wayne Potts barn. The horses have continued to run well, just as whatever trainer is deputizing for at Oaklawn, horses have continued to run well, continue to run better than their PPs often. Horses' last race was good enough. Horses are a threat to wire the field. As long as you don't have them in your top 4.
You see the voided claim, so that's twofold. He's voided claim, yet he's in for the waiver, so I guess that's a good sign. Yeah, I guess he can wire the field. I didn't prefer him today.
Okay. Well, I don't prefer him, but I think he's a threat to wire the field.
Okay.
I mean, might as well run. Even that's a horse that has a little turf pedigree. It's not really turf move-up pedigree, but it is a half to a couple of turf winners. And you go through, you've taken Karnak on top, who I have second. I've got him second, so I obviously think he can win as well. But is there any guarantee he has any real ability at all?
Well, no, but I'm going to take and especially if I don't know how they're going to bet this race, because
Well, the 6 is going to be favored.
is he really going to be favored off the route races?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, he's an overwhelming favorite in the morning line. You think
Right,
David
but
got that
don't they,
wrong?
No, I think the public will. I think the public might find someone to anoint.
No,
here.
he'll be the favorite.
Okay. So Karnak.
Certainty.
But my deal with Karnak is he was off the long layoff last time, and he ran against a couple of horses in Sayaf and Crackshot, who are multiple winners, who were in for the tag. He was not in for the tag, and now off the bench, he is in for the tag. He's in the 2 life. The drop the drop in class off of the 10-month layoff from last time to this time is so significant. And you look at the 2 lifetime condition for the 30, again, this is as easy a spot as he's going to find for this condition. I
Right,
mean,
but he's never run a good race.
well, I thought the maiden win before he went to the bench.
No, it's not a good race. That's not going to win this race.
Well, it's a year later. You hope for some maturity and some improvement, and you hope
I've
that he
got him
needed the race
second
off
on the hope
bench.
too, but I don't have any. I'm going to use him.
It's hard to
but
really
he
have any
doesn't stand
confidence
in
in
any
him.
solid ground whatsoever. I get it. Listen, I've got him second, like you said. I'm not, totally against
You
him.
bet him on the come a little bit, but you're going to probably get the right price. He's going to be 5-6 to 1 to bet on the come.
Is that even that good a price? I mean, at least with Boom Boom Kavoom, and we'll go back to his last turf race, actually, where he finished third, you've got a horse that during his career was a better turf horse than dirt horse that seemingly out of nowhere finally kind of improved and kind of got his act together. Now, maybe some of getting his act together was against some real mediocre horses, but he also, ran Beyer figures in the 60s before his last couple of races, and he ran okay in those races. He was on a dead rail 3 races back. And maybe now this is the right surface. I mean, hard as it is to believe, maybe this late in his career, he's kind of turning his life around. Now, trust me, I don't love Boom Boom Kaboom.
Right.
But one thing I know about Boom Boom Kaboom is he can run respectably in turf sprints. And I'm going to kind of hope that he's going to transfer that form that was improved in the turf. Trust me, I have absolutely no confidence in him whatsoever. But it's hard to have any confidence in anybody here. I mean, you have a horse like Maddie's Marauder fourth, and I'm not near third. I mean, what could any of us possibly like about him? His turf races are atrocious.
They were a long time ago, and again, it's kind of the same.
His first 2 were okay.
With
His
Karnak.
next 2 were hopeless.
Kind of the same thing with Karnak. I mean, then you're not going to find. I would almost guarantee you're not going to find an easier 32 life at this meet than this one right here.
Well, I agree. This is a soft spot. But then again, maybe it isn't. What if the 3 is a turf horse? What if Mach 1 is getting back to the right surface and he can wire the field?
Maybe.
I mean, those are horses that are potentially dangerous in here. I don't like Kid Bourbon, but if he happens to sprint, he can win this race. I can't bet him. It's a very, very – it's not a race. The center of this race is Kid Bourbon, and it's very hard to take him at 6 furlongs, even though he can obviously win. Race number 5. You had 3 horses coming out of the same race. One of them scratched. I guess Linda's opening day, she had to have at least one scratch in the card. I don't know if she could have found a better spot for this horse, but regardless, he scratched from here. She's hoping to be a 6-horse field somewhere down the road. We'll take a look at the race these horses come out of, and for my money, Citizen K is the one who had trouble. Yarrow actually had a very, very soft trip in this race. And I feel like Yarrow's been a short price and failed in some races. Now, Citizen K is kind of in the 2 path, while Yarrow's just sort of out there in a good spot. You're going to see Citizen K right in here get shuffled back and is going to get taken out of position here and lose that position. And while Yarrow had a very good spot, Citizen K just kind of spent way too much of the race losing position. And Yarrow was able to maintain that position. And I thought Citizen K, of all 3 of these horses, now one scratched, was the one who had not a terrible trip, but the most amount of trouble in this race and kind of prevented from maybe doing the absolute best running and finished basically at the wire with all three of these horses. I understand that Citizen K ran well in the turf race and then kind of disappointed, but the reality was caught a very moderate pace at Belmont in that 7-furlong race and ran respectably, a little far back, and maybe 7 was too far. I thought that Citizen K of the horses in this race, and now it's only 2 of them, was the right one. I don't know exactly where you went in this race.
I went 2-12-3. My biggest problem with Citizen K was there's just no speed signed on in here. And he's a horse that he has no speed, and at the very least, Yarrow's going to be closer than him. So I reluctantly picked it up.
There's no speed. Why wouldn't you have any of the speeds in your top 3?
Well, Built to Last will be on the lead in here.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Built to Last. I mean, if he's not, I don't know why you. I don't know what you're doing.
I thought that Hey Mac is Jack would be in front in this race.
I guess he could be, but I mean, if you're not on a send from the 12, now the 10 hole with Built to Last, I just as well as he ran 2 back, and then I don't know what happened last time, but he comes back. They ran this horse on the Tom Worley ran this horse on the turf first time he had him, and I thought he ran okay as a 2-year-old, and then came back. The blinkers helped. Now he gets Lasix for his third start off a little bit of the break. He's getting back to the grass. I probably should have put him on top. If I realized he was that big of a price, I would have put him on top. I can't imagine he's going to be that big of a price because he's going to be forward in a race that, you're right, the other horse on the front end is in all likelihood, Hey Mac, it's Jack. And, I mean, he runs for a half mile and stops. So maybe Eric Cancel.
We'll revisit that comment in a minute.
Okay.
Well, you do have a 6-1 scratch, but I was Built to Last going to be single-digit odds in this race.
I mean, if he transfers the race 2 back to the turf, he's right there today. I mean,
let me just also
right there.
Let me remind you of something. In the race where he finished 4th, the horse who finished 3rd, He's Got It, who got placed first on a DQ on Saturday, you didn't have in the top 4 in a
What does that mean?
If you let me finish, it means a lot. You didn't have him in the top 4 in an awful field. In an awful field. This is a pretty good field.
But I don't know. When you bring that up, it makes zero sense to me. Because it's race to race. This horse has an advantage in here because
he doesn't have an advantage.
He's going to be forward in a race where he has a lot of horses that don't have any early speed in here.
Okay, but you still didn't like a horse at all.
What is that? That doesn't mean that has nothing to do with this.
Oh, I think it has a lot.
It has nothing to do with it.
No,
because I think a horse is going to have an advantage, a tactical advantage over a bunch of horses coming back from breaks.
Let me say 2 things. The 4 Central Pride has speed. The 7, Hey Mac Jack, is the fastest horse in the race. So you've determined that Eric Cancel from an outside post against one horse that's as fast, and another horse that's probably a little faster is somehow going to have the lead. And for that reason, you like him in a theoretic, much not even theoretic, considerably tougher spot than a horse that beat him that you didn't like at all. I do think it's relevant. All I'm saying is I find it hard to believe you like. I don't like Built to Last in this race, so I'm not. I actually would agree. I have the opposite opinion here.
He beat him a length in December.
He was running against horrible horses, but it's their only turf race. I think it is relevant. I do. I do think it's relevant. But we can disagree. That's fine. As far as Hey Mac Jack, let's be careful. Look at who he ran against in his first turf start.
Oh, no, listen,
this guy ran against Perfect Muddings
yeah.
and Dancing Buck the first time out, and he went to the lead and he fell apart. I mean,
but then he subsequently
maybe he's a turf horse.
Maybe he is.
You think Jorge Vargas is taking this guy back?
Man, he's
Jorge Vargas is a dead send rider.
Andy, he stops.
He
runs for 3/8 of a mile and
he's
stops.
He's going to be twice the price of the 12, and I think he's a more likely winner. Okay. I really do. I mean, we disagree. That's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But
what are we at?
101.
I'll give you 3-2.
No, I'll take 3-2.
I'll give you 3-2.
Okay, 3-2. Okay, 101, 3-2, 7 over 12. We may have to look for him in 8th and 10th to figure out who wins the bet. I do think it's important to mention Bucker 2 in this race because. I mean, Bucker 2 ran well enough as a 2-year-old to be competitive in this race. I mean, yeah, he got to a good rail in the late stages last time, which is how he won the head bob for second. But This guy ran against some pretty good horses.
did.
I mean, Sandrone and those types. Sandrone, I don't think he ran that badly in the comeback race the other day. I mean, there's a chance that Buck or 2 making the jump from 2 to 3 could just be better than these horses. I mean, you've liked a lot of Michelle Nevin horses. This seems like a very logical Michelle Nevin horse.
I got the horse 4th, and I'm going to use the horse in the pick 4 and the pick 5, the late pick 5 rather. I kind of felt like his last 2. I kind of felt like I don't know if he really had an excuse to back.
But he ran well enough to win this.
But he did. Yes, that race will win. That race will put him right there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's a superstar,
right.
but
it's part of the reason. Part of the reason I went to Yarrow. Is he's the 4-year-old against the 3-year-olds in the air.
I scratched into Yarrow for second when the 5 came out.
Yeah.
I'm not. He's not impossible.
No, I don't love him.
But maybe he'll be one of these Christophe Clement horses like that horse at Aqueduct over the weekend that was about 4th best that got the perfect trip to win. But what are his excuses to have lost 8 to 5 and 7 to 5 to 2?
He doesn't have any.
He's this kind of horse that's always going to take money because of Christophe, and I just don't know how good he is.
He just ran fast enough, I thought, and he ran.
Oh,
and he'll be in front of Citizen K enough where it gives him a little advantage. Yeah, well. That was just me.
All right, that's the first 5. The late pick 4 after a quick break.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Nairo Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Nairo Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. We're discussing the Saturday. Saturday will run from 1 to 11. A little extra Meadowlands action. The resident harness expert, the Big A, will be giving out information. Also opening night at Churchill. I mean, 4 hours of Ewan Lafitte.
Oof. Little Paula Dukas.
When we just told Kyle, our cameraman, he said he's willing to work for free. He said he's actually willing to pay to be here for those 4 hours.
Mitch Levitis is actually paying to be here for those 4 hours.
Mitch Levitis should pay to be here every day that he's here.
Well, he's definitely paying Saturday.
He doesn't pay for his clothes. He should probably pay for something. Race number 6, kicking off the late pick 4.
What'd you do here?
What did I do? I put up a replay of horses that I don't like at all.
Nope.
For whatever that's worth. We'll get to that in a minute. You're going to try to wire the field with a horse off a layoff.
I don't have to say anything else. That's really all I'm going to try and do. Listen, man,
But she did lose to Red Pepper Grill.
Boy,
so she's pretty good.
Yeah. Man, I don't know what to do with Raffinity. I mean, Boss Cara can win. Though I thought they would have.
This horse has one race.
I know.
One race.
I know. But she has the speed, and that was pretty much it. I plan on using 1, 8, and 9 in the pick 4 and pick 5, and I just wanted to pick the biggest price, the horse who. Here's the other thing I felt about this. I know it's one race, but her one race is exponentially better than any other one race in here. So she has the race that could dominate these horses. Can she run it today? I don't know. If she does, she's going to win. She's going to win. And she's the best price of the 3 horses I think can win. I mean, even if you open it up to Bella Domenica, she's the best price of the 4 horses I think can win. So I went with her for that reason. She has the one race that if they all run their best race, she's going to win. And she'll be 5 to 1. So.
Yeah. Well. Yeah,
I don't. Do I love her?
It is her
Absolutely
only
not.
race. She's had one start in the last 14 months. Yeah. I've got her thirds the speed. Guys, we'll skip the replay for this race. To be honest with you, I have no idea why I sent it in. I must have been desperately looking for something to show instead of our ugly faces in here. And the thing about Raffinity, who I imagine is going to be the favorite in here, and I do have her second, and I think she is the second likeliest winner. She's a 1 for 14 horse with 4 seconds, and this is something I said to you before her last race. She was second by default last time, and yeah, there's a fair argument that she improved for Rob Falcone, and I don't think that's unfair. But somebody had to be second to the 1 to 9 Shalimar Gardens. And she just went to the front, and she happened to be that horse. And then she got in a more competitive pace scenario last time, and she was awful. Having said that, this is an easier spot for her, and Rob's doing the right thing. He's dropping her down to the level he claimed her. He did well in her second start. I mean, she made $14,000 for $25,000 for finishing second in that race, so they kind of paid some bills with her. So you run in here, get a piece of the purse, almost hope you get claimed, and you come out a few dollars ahead. Maybe she wins. So I think she makes perfect sense. I don't think it's a negative drop down at all.
I don't either.
I think they had right to, they found a great spot for her off the claim. They had a right to be a little optimistic off of it. But once they ran that race, they realized, we did a great thing off the claim. Let's try to get some money in a more realistic spot. The problem is, man, she's got a boatload of slow races. And you're banking on her having gotten better for Rob. Not you, one who likes her. We both have her second.
Yeah, we both have her second.
Yeah, as the favorite. And
you're not making
if
a multi-race ticket
you draw a
here.
line through that race, she ain't much horse. And
Well,
I'm
she's
not
the
even
same thing as Love That Face, right? You draw a line through Love That Face, you draw a line through that race. They're the same horse, and one horse is going to be twice the price.
Why horses like the 2, 3, and 6, and all sorts of weird horses can win here.
Right.
Which is why I like Boss Cara. Because the reality is that Boss Cara actually ran okay. I mean, To a T would be an overwhelming favorite in this race. Tell a Perfect Tale, who
sure.
won the race. Well, I don't know. She might be second choice after we both thought you actually liked her, but you agreed she could be vulnerable. She would have 8-5, and she should have been 3-5.
Right.
But
She improved off the win.
And she ran the best figure she's ever run in the dirt for her new connection. She's run well in the past. She's run against better horses. I just think she's super logical in this race, and I think she's supposed to be favored, to be honest with you.
Like I said, I'm using 1s, 8s, and 9s. Maybe a little 6. But I just put the horse on top that's going to be the best price. But, yeah, I mean, you can make cases for Affinity and Boss Cara.
Yeah, I don't think
you probably
Raffinity-
make the best case for Boss Cara because she's been a little bit more consistent than the other two.
She has. I mean, Raffinity's supposed to be stalking Love That Face, so she's not going to be compromised. I thought race 7 was an extremely difficult race. I know you like More Grateful, and I've got him third. I had a lot of questions about this guy. I mean, why do you like him today? And you're not the only one that I likes him, so I'm not.
And maybe I'm making too much of it. Isn't he supposed to be loose in here?
Well, he's the speed, yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't. It's horse racing isn't that simple, but
No, it's not.
man, he's supposed to. And he's another one. He has the races on his card. We know he has 2 or 3 races on his card that would dominate these horses. Save a sole effort from Prince James, where I don't know where that came from. I mean, that was some race, but it was against
he rode a gold rail that day.
Well, there's
the
your answer.
same gold rail that More Grateful rode in a big speed track 2 races back when he set the big figure. Then he came back last time. What happened to his speed last time?
I don't know what happened to his speed. Listen, Whistling Birds set decent enough fractions, but this horse had no speed. Whistling Birds took him wire to wire. And, yeah.
It's an ex-Brad Cox. He's been in a lot of Wise Guy barns. He can win. He is the speed. I don't disagree with you.
You know, Kendrick's going to let him roll early, and I think it in a race where, you know, I wanted to go back to Repo Rocks, but what's his destiny? What kind of trip is his destiny? Now he's had in his last 3
He's not
starts.
that slow.
He's had poor breaks in his last 3 starts, and I just can't.
Terrible ride last
He
night.
got a terrible ride, but again, he was off slow. I mean, you see his last 3 comments. Off slow hasn't started last away.
Well,
that's troubling. It has to worry you.
Well, let's be honest here. The reason that people are wary of Repo Rocks, it's no knock on Greg DePrima, but Greg DePrima doesn't have the kind of numbers that Juan
of
Vasquez
course.
has, and not only that, Greg DePrima doesn't move horses up the way Juan Vasquez does. And there's an argument. I know this horse ran a big figure in his first start, but this horse's career turned around or not his first start, his maiden win. His career turned around for Juan Vasquez.
Second in the toboggan and third in the top 4.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's unfair to ask, is he going to get the same kind of performance for Greg DePrima? It's
Well,
not
that's
a
a
knock on
concern as
Greg,
well.
but
It's a concern
has
as
to
well.
it has to be addressed.
Of course.
Whereas Prince James, at least in Rob Atris's barn, and he had a horse move up on, I think, Sunday's card, as much as I've seen a horse move up the entire year, and we've seen a lot of moves ups. And he's at least maintained good form since that race. Yeah, he had a good trip 2 races back, but it's not like he's run that badly. And, I don't think any of these horses, the 1, 3, and 6, are going to be that far off of More Grateful. I don't think More Grateful is going to have this gigantic pace edge over some serious competitors.
I'm curious as to how Kendrick rides him. Because this to
depends
me,
how much speed he has.
See, to me, this one smells of if this horse has his speed from 2 back, I think Kendrick's going to run him off their feet. I think Kendrick's going to let this horse run from the rip.
I'm going to be honest
and that's
with
what
you.
you should do.
Obviously, he's best in the front end. I agree. Kendrick is not the aggressive rider that a lot of people have him painted as. I don't see that.
But he can be. He
Well,
can
they all
be.
can be aggressive.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if you look at this form, if you study this race, this is as big a no-brainer as there is, because, like you said, the three horses that are his main competition can be within
let me
close
ask you a
proximity.
question.
Make them do some heavy lifting.
I don't disagree with you, but let me ask you a question. Is there any rider in this race that wasn't supposed to be in the lead with this horse? Which rider here you'd say, well, this guy's going to rate him?
There's a difference.
I'm not sure there is.
In my opinion, there's a difference between putting a horse on a lead and letting them roll on the front end. A lot of guys around here do not let them roll.
I'm going to give you a job. I want you to find the three horses over the last 6 months that Kendrick has, quote, let roll, unquote. I want you to find them for me because I don't think they exist.
Okay.
And I'm not saying he's wrong not to have done it. I don't think he's doing that much, if at all.
But I think you said it. I think you pointed out. You pointed it out. His three main rivals in here all have enough tactical speed to stay in close proximity. In that instance, you're supposed to try to run them off the feet, make them chase.
I'm not sure he has the speed to do it, and I doubt it happens. We see it slightly differently. But I think it's hard to make a case for competitive Saint. But otherwise, you can make a lot of cases. I mean, Fitzpatrick, will take a look at his race. Now, listen, he's a last time was the time horse, and for me, I got the money with him. But don't deny that this guy ran last time.
He ran.
I mean, this was not a race that fell apart.
No, it wasn't.
And
he ran.
They were not exactly moving up front.
They were walking
well,
on
it
the
was a
front
relatively
end.
slow race, but he ran, this guy. The problem is, first of all, for me, I got the money with him last time. But second of all, he beat American Gentleman and Trash Talker. Two horses that you would not like in this race. Two horses that you would have a great deal of trouble liking in this race. So it's hard to make a case. But I will say, I don't disagree with you. The pace here is a little tricky. But I think it's fair to say the pace will be maybe a little more faster than it was last time. Now, I don't know that still makes him able to win this race. And, Mark Hennig has turned this horse's career around.
You get him a piece.
Mark has turned this horse's career around.
If you're of my, you see,
well, I like Spun in One.
Okay.
I don't love Spun in One. I like the new face angle in here because I'm a little bit sick of seeing the same faces, and maybe I'm a sucker for that situation. I thought he ran fine last time. You look at the race, the horse who won came from fifth. It's Claudio Gonzalez horse with pretty good form. The other speed finished fourth. He was down towards the inside for some of the races. Down on the rail, he angled off a little in the stretch. Don't know how much you wanted to be inside, but the rail was probably okay. You look at some of his other races. I mean, he ran an 88 buyer at Parks. He came back with a solid third behind Cost Basis and Drafted, which if you use that race, it says he can win here. I don't think he can be far off it, so I don't think he's going to be compromised by pace. And let's face it, I was seduced by the new face.
Yeah, and he'll likely be the best price of the four.
Hang on a second. There's a sale at Cohen's Optical. I just got a text.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm good, knock wood.
Okay. No,
all right.
You don't wear glasses. No. Race number 8. Interesting race number 7. I think in race number 8, at the end of the day, it's an interesting race, a good combination of horses. I think the horse you and I have on top, Doubly Blessed, is just better in this field. We'll look at his last race.
Now, sometimes I said earlier how being in front doesn't automatically mean that it translates to success. To say it's simple is kind of disrespecting horse racing. He's just the best horse in here.
He is.
Sometimes it is that simple. Sometimes the best horse wins. His one race going 7/8 this distance was in the Forgo. Obviously, he had no chance in the Forgo. But his one-turn mile races, he was in front at the 5/8, at the 3/8 pole last time. So 7/8 is not a problem. He's supposed to get a good enough setup. There's some speed signed on in here, and he just, to me, he's just.
I think he's the best horse.
He's the best horse in the race.
That's what I think as well.
He's
agree.
as close. People love the question we get asked a lot now. I know that I get asked is, who's the single today? Who's the single today?
Nobody asks me that because I think it's the stupidest thing in racing.
You don't have to have a single, but I will say this: if you want a lean, to me, he's the heaviest lean on the card.
Yeah, I don't think maybe I'm perfect is impossible.
I don't
We'll take
either.
a look at his last race, and I know it's Gustavo Rodriguez, but it is ex-Wayne Potts, and Wayne's Potts horses were just jumping out of their skin at Aqueduct, and I think they continued even when Bonnie Lucas took over and running races, but I thought he ran pretty well last time. You know, he stalked the pace of Aristocratic, who's not bad, and took over from him. Supreme Aura made a huge run for the back of the pack, but he was a turn back that day and kind of taking advantage of a race falling apart in front of him and ran okay. But I'm not totally dismissive of Baby I'm Perfect. He's run some good races, but if he's the second choice in this race, you know, I mean, I know Dark Money's going to take some money. Dark Money's being Bella Tapissiere and other horses, Pisserie, and just better horse. Well, Vintage Hollywood's going to be a winner by the time we get to this race. It's hard to make a case for other horses. I agree. If the 6 shows up with his race, he's probably going to win this race.
Yeah.
Unless somebody sort of jumps off the page.
Right. Somebody would have to really improve, come up with a race they haven't run ever or in a while.
Was it painful for you to leave It's All Relevant out of the top 4?
Yeah.
You shed some tears, a little crying.
It was.
I would have lost some bet if somebody said to me, "I'll bet you Anthony leaves It's All Relevant off the top 4." I just said, "What? Just tell me how much you want to bet. I'm good for it." Another losing bet I could have had. Kyle, you should have called me.
I always root for. I always root for him. He's one of my.
I know
pets.
you love him.
I'm
shocked. I'm a little. I hope he doesn't find out.
I hope he runs well.
He might be angry. He might.
I hope he runs well, but
he might take it out
on you. He's in a little deep today.
So. Race number 9 is another one of those races where you don't really have any turf for him. I was hoping Lemmy Get It would get in this race, and I thought he was interesting. And the horse that has turf for him
13,
is the number 2, White Hot, for Dominic Scatino. And I think you have to use him somewhere, but I got to tell you, he was 65 to 1 and not running in the best of fields that day, and he did improve of his other races where he was 25, 61, and 132 to 1. Took a big drop, actually. Took a lot of money last time based off his prior race. They knew, I guess. But I find it hard to believe that there isn't going to be somebody in here that's a little better.
Or somebody's, yeah. Right. I mean, I have those second, but yes, I agree.
Got him 4th.
I agree. I went to Gracefully Wild.
Okay. We're waiting.
Dan was 2 for 2 on the turf, 2 for 6 overall, 2 for 2 on the turf. 2 of the 3 siblings have won on the turf. I thought this had a useful enough return from a year-plus layoff, getting on a surface that she's bred to handle. And yeah, I was like you. I was hoping to get a little. Let Me Get It would get in. I would have leaned on those 2 with a little White Hot, but yeah.
I thought the problem with Gracefully Wild, and she can win. I've got her second. Gandy Dancing's the one from that dam that didn't win. They weren't great turf moves ups, and Shackelford's at best neutral. Is this horse will get bet off of dirt form, and particularly a second place finish in a very, very weak spot time out. Yep. It's hard. I mean, Celine the Queen is a half to excellent timing, whose one turf try was that stake on Derby Day last year where he ran nowhere. But the reality is that there is turf pedigree. The dam actually ran okay on the turf. The problem with Celine the Queen is she just is so faint-hearted. She just probably going to go to the lead.
She's about this big, too.
Yeah, she just She just quits so badly in her races that it's really kind of hard. And, I mean, you look through, there is turf pedigree in this race. The one, she's a Dancing Queen, is a half to 6 turf winners. 2 to 3 of them were pretty good. But this dam has gotten old. And
that production went back to like 03, right?
Right. The dam's 23 years old, and this horse sold for $1,000. Yeah. It's tough to be optimistic knowing that pedigree. I mean, the best theoretical pedigree, speaking of tiny horses, is Deanie's Destiny. But the reality is that Avi's Destiny, who made $350,000, $380,000 on the turf,
winner.
You know, very good. It's had poor production. One turf winner was bad. Bernardini's not a turf sire. And the fact that with that pedigree, Linda dropped this horse in for a quarter, and Bernardini broodmares can be worth a lot of money, and they couldn't wait to get rid of this horse, makes me wonder if this horse can really run at all.
I scratched into it for 4th, but all of those great points. The fact that she's by Bernardini, she's from a mare that was pretty good.
She was very
25,000 first time out. It's almost like
she has more than that value as a broodmare. Yeah. Excuse me. I picked Draw Off, who's a half to 3 turf winners. Now, the problem with it is that they're not big turf move-ups. But Gormley's actually had some success with turf sprinters. We saw with his 2-year-olds last year. The Weaver Barn's done okay. This horse should be a bit forward behind Celine the Queen, obviously. I'm just guessing. I mean, it's very hard to stand on any solid ground whatsoever.
Horse makes a lot of sense. I mean, that horse makes a lot of sense.
We'll see.
Good, Barnes going well. Yeah.
So the 15 got in.
The 15 got in.
15's actually got a little turf pedigree. So half to a horse. They ran a 71 buyer on the turf, and that was a tail of a Cotty. And I think Shanghai Bobby's a much better turf sire. Beware of Lady Shanghai Trevor. Shouldn't Trevor McCarthy be riding Lady Shanghai
That's
Trevor?
what you would think, right?
Trevor.
In a perfect, in a
Joey.
utopian world, yes.
And I have to particularly root against
Ray Handel?
Mo the Morning Grouch.
You want it to be Andy the Morning Grouch?
No, it's the connections.
You're actually pretty-
See them later.
You're
I'm a
actually-
Grouch in the morning.
No, you're pretty good in the morning.
When have we woken up together?
I didn't say we woke up together, Andy. I mean, really.
The morning, I mean getting up like right away.
All right.
You know,
Man,
Linda
we always
Rice.
got to take it to the weird place. What about Linda Rice?
Linda Rice, first-time starters in turf sprints, is 3 for 55, 6%, 85-cent ROI over the last 5 years. That is opening day at Belmont. Looking forward to a fun meet here at Belmont Park. Of course, Belmont Stakes coming up in just 44 days. You need to head over to Naira Bets, become a member. Use the promo code Derby25. We will match for $200 your initial deposit and give you a $25 free Derby bet. We have the 20% exacta bonus, which I'm all signed up for. Get over there and opt in over at Naira Bets. 20% exacta bonuses, free money. If you have any good opinions at all, opening weekend. What else do we have here?
Contest.
Contest.
Closes in 28 hours and 13 minutes. It's open until Friday at 5 p.m. There's $300 buy-in, cash, and seat prizes. Those contests are a lot of fun, folks. They're live money. You keep what you win, and then you also have the seats as well. Go to naira.com/contests to sign up until 5 p.m. tomorrow.
We have Belmont Stakes tickets. Go to belmontstakes.com to get those tickets before they sell out.
And they will
Don't
sell
wake
out.
up one day and say, oh, they're sold out, and then complain. You've got plenty of time. Get them now. And finally, last but not least, starting momentarily right here, 1 to 5:30, America's Day at the Races. Enjoy opening day at Belmont. We look forward and appreciate you watching the shows. We look forward to you coming out and visiting us at beautiful Belmont Park. No better place to spend an afternoon. Have a great day. Johnny I up next. Scratches and Changes.